Good afternoon. How are you? My name is Pavel Limbersky. I would like to read an excerpt from my newly released novel, 200 Brand New Shiny Cadillacs. In it, my characters do a bit of gallery hopping in New York in the early 90s. Another thing about my exotic paramour, she possessed kick-ass energy and superior intelligence and was nuts about art. Soho gallery hopping is what we did every week, heading to galleries and art spaces on Thursdays and Fridays after work, making sure we didn't miss out on openings, lectures, or artist talks. We heard Peter Wallen speak at the kitchen on the dynamic nature of the cult of Salome in turn of the century European iconography, and Gary Indiana deliver the opening notes for the Alexander Kluge retrospective at MoMA, or Slavoj Žižek at the Old Dage Project, clips from Hitchcock's Vertigo liberally interspersed through the jittery Slovenian's talk, as was his wont, to illustrate this or that post-Freudian point. Then Violka, not a single self-conscious bone in her shapely body, walked up to the celeb's thinker and chatted with him about some people they supposedly knew back in Ljubljana. She seemed to know everyone who was anyone in downtown New York, art dealers, collectors, artists, and fellow art lovers. Once during an opening at Postmasters, we bumped into my dad and his gorgeous curator girlfriend Tatiana from Bryansk, who were also doing the gallery rounds that night. We had a queasy chit-chat with them, all the while sipping Pinot Noir out of plastic cups and talking contemporary art of the Marxist bent that my dad wouldn't be caught dead anywhere near had it not been for the artistic and intellectual predilections of his leggy flame in a pantsuit. That was shortly before he invested a tidy sum in a little storefront gallery space on Suffolk that she lorded over with an iron hand as director/curator. It just seemed a bit queer dating Gyolka, who was almost Dad's age, while he was sleeping with a woman slightly younger than me, who happened to have a penchant for vintage clothes that went back to Dad's adolescence in Odessa. I'm sure Zizek would have gotten some mileage out of that misalliance, underlying the libidinal nostalgia localized at the interstice between the symbolic and the real. I'm skipping around a little. She was an art collector too. The money she made as a senior developer and her savings allowed her to invest in small pieces now and again, like abstract photography or works on paper that she bought from Pierogi Gallery, which just opened in Williamsburg across the East River, or from the new crop of then tiny Chelsea galleries. One Saturday morning, after a night of boozy sex at her place in Fair Lawn, she asked me to join her on an art hunting expedition across the two rivers. I agreed, and once we reached Pierogi, I remember us putting on white gloves upon the gallery owner's request before he let us go through the content of the so-called flat files. The gloves made us look like two Bugs Bunnies, only one of us, silly wabbits, was a big bosomed Bugs in a leather miniskirt and silver ties, while the other sported a newly grown patchy beard, had a pair of diesel pants on, and improbably a Versace shirt that he got from his dad for his 30th birthday. She blew $480 on 3 watercolors and a Mondrian flavored piece, which was actually just a glorified contact sheet of 8mm film negative strips glued to an ochre background. Then we took a train and a bus to her place. I offered a hand hanging the pieces on the living room walls, and while I was up on the highest step of the short ladder, she wasted no time unzipping my diesels, and as a reward as a reward for help in domestic matters, gave me a sloppy blowjob that changed the way I looked at Mondrian or his epigones for some time to come. That was an excerpt from my novel 200 Brand New Shiny Cadillacs, a crime mystery interspersed with some philosophical, introspective revelations, available everywhere. Have a glorious Sunday.